Good evening, everyone. Now, I have been in this building where there have been nobody in here. That was the pandemic. So now I do see faces, so we're going to try that again. Good evening, everyone. That sounds much better. You are not holograms, you are real. Okay. My name is Yolanda Wins, and I am the chair of music here at Harlem School of the Arts. And I welcome you here, Architectural League of New York. Give yourselves a hand. It's very nice to not only see people in the building, but artistic people in the building. This was the mission of Dorothy Maynor, our founder. Just to give you a little bit of history of Harlem School of the Arts. The school started in the basement of the church next door by critically acclaimed soprano Dorothy Maynor. During the height of the civil rights, where she, as a woman of color, did not have voting rights and actually could not sing at the Metropolitan Opera or Carnegie Hall. She had to make a career for herself in Europe, and then decided that she was going to give back to the Harlem community. And so she, in her graceness of service, pulled all of her resources from Suzuki to you name it, to make sure that the children of the Harlem community would be exposed to excellence in the arts, whether it was music, whether it was dance, whether it was theater, whether it was visual arts. And so all of that started in the basement of the church next door in around 1964. And in 1979, she mortgaged off her summer home so that she could have the down payment for this site, for this space. And amazing woman. And so in 1979, she decided to retire finally. And she appointed CEO and president, Miss Betty Allen. And if you see the mural, there's Dorothy Maynor and what the building used to look like, and I'll talk about that a minute. And then Miss Betty Allen is the one that's holding the music, singing out. And I've had a full circle moment because that's how I got introduced to Harlem School of the Arts, because I studied with Betty Allen at Manhattan School of Music. So I'm now having this full circle moment of being in a space with some wonderful women. So in 1979, architect Mr. Franson, Jörg Franson, who was known for his architecture that made buildings that looked like fortresses, and in the neighborhood at that time, we needed a fortress, so that, children felt safe, in a safe place. And so this is what the front of the building looked like, where you see HSA. So it was really a fortress. It was closed in. And for so many years, the neighborhood did not know what this building was. So now in full circle, we have the Renaissance Project. And in 2019, we received a wonderful grant of $9.5 million from Mr. Herb Albert, that we just honor him in so many ways and are so grateful for his philanthropy. And so through his grant, the vision of Herb Albert, and our previous president, Mr. Eric Pryor, who believed in newness and how old could meet new and we all unite together, this project started. And in August of 2020, the building was open during the pandemic. So we had a beautiful building, but we did not have the children to be able to come into the building to actually enjoy the space until the following year of July 2021, when we started our summer camp program. Before that, the camp everything was remote. All of the classes were remote. We figured it out during the pandemic, but now we are so happy to have the children back, the space open. We had our first in-person recitals this year. And so Dorothy Main has always been this personality that thought of excellence in the arts and wanted the children of the community to be exposed. I love that word, exposed to excellence in the art. And in keeping with this mission, we were introduced to Miss Celia and to Mr. Eric to make this project happen. So thank you so much and welcome. I had the fountain put on just for you, just so you could have the whole experience. And as we go into dusk, you'll get to see some lighting in that area and enjoy. This is a family style organization, and so your invitation is open-ended. Welcome.
I am Paul Lewis, president of the League. Is it too loud or is it just right? Okay. It sounds really loud up here, so I feel like I'm yelling at myself. Anyways, and this is the last day of my 4 years of having the honor and responsibility of this position. I'm particularly pleased to conclude my presidency with an in-person annual meeting. It's the first one we've had in person in 3 years, so it's wonderful to see you all gathered here at the Harlem School of the Arts. So thank you to Celia Imrie, the designer of the renovation, for the tour that provided insight into this important building. Over the past 4 years, I've had the pleasure, really, in some ways, really the privilege of working closely with our executive director, Rosalie Genevro. And I know this will not come as a surprise to any of you, but she's pretty amazing. She is truly the League's what I call ethical compass and a catalyst for the League's consistent evolution over more than 3 decades to rethink and redefine what is both important and of value in architecture. You are tenacious and persistent in asking questions and challenging assumptions, and I've learned an immense amount from you, Rosalie. So please give a robust thanks and welcome to Rosalie to present the year in review.
Okay, so now we have a technology challenge here that I'm not sure that I'm up to. Yes, okay. Hi, it is really fantastic to see so many people here. It's been, actually this week, we've had several in-person events, so this week is something really special. First, I want to also thank Yolanda for welcoming us here, and also thank you to Claudia Camacho for making it possible for us to be here and for making everything work so smoothly. And thank you to Celia Imrie for making the connection that made all of this happen and providing the tour of this beautiful new space. It's great that we started and we are ending the program year with in-person events. Okay, I'm just going to say next, Rafi, because, yeah. Yeah, I'll just say next. Last July, we began the year about 20 blocks away at Marcus Garvey Park with a joyous celebration of the presentation of the League's President's Medal to Walter Hood. It rained a little, but it was really wonderful to be together. In between then and now has been a story of flexibility and adaptation and adjustment and just plowing ahead even when what was in front of us was not very clear. Through all of that adaptation, we've learned a lot. Even if many of us never, ever want to be on a Zoom or Teams meeting ever again, we've discovered that there are enormous opportunities offered by digital communications technology. In real time and digital space, We were able to engage speakers and jurors from all over the globe, from Beijing to Karachi to London. This is Peter Barber in London, and just before was Yasmin Lari in Karachi, without the burden of travel costs and environmental impacts, and to make our programs available to audiences everywhere. It has been really exhilarating to present online lectures with a headliner logging in from Cape Town or from New Bern, Alabama, and a moderator joining from someplace completely different. And it is equally exhilarating to scan the list of attendees and see that people are watching from Auckland to Boise to Singapore to Glasgow to Medellin. And digital technology makes the possibilities for how information and ideas are presented so much richer too, whether for Chris Reed and his team at STOSS, toggling between the firm's Boston and LA offices to present their work in an FF Distance Edition program, or Joyce Wang of Ants of the Prairie in Buffalo, giving us a tour of her Buffalo neighborhood before showing us some of her projects, like this one in Canberra. For emerging voices, the flexibility of online meant that that we could have one of our EV jurors, Ursula Kripa, who's based in El Paso, moderate a program with winners Sekou Cook in Charlotte and Aksa Aksamija in Cambridge. I'm afraid I garbled Aksa's name. We also contextualize and deepen the presentation of winners' works, with interviews like this one on Rethinking Concrete from Emerging Voice TN. Similarly, for the League Prize, Maggie Sang and Isaac Stein in Houston could have a great conversation with Jose Amazurrutia, garbled that one too, sorry, and Carlos Faccio in Mexico City. And the multimodal capacities of the internet mean that we can present the exquisite meditation on sound and construction and space that Mexico City League Prize winners TOE created as their online installation. We are also taking a dip into the world of podcasting. We're also publishing a lot more of our material in Spanish. And we are taking a dip into the world of podcasting in our new collaboration with Anna Milyaki and her critical broadcasting lab at MIT with the I Would Prefer Not To project about what makes an architect or landscape architect decide not to take a commission. We began monthly releases of podcasts in May, and we're continuing. One will be released each month over the coming year. If you are an asynchronous type of person and prefer to consume your content on your schedule, not ours, it's good to know that all of our programs in original to digital material is available for the long term on archleague.org. Urban Omnibus, the League's online publication on New York City, has had a very strong year as it continues its work, probing and making visible otherwise unseen features and mechanisms of the metropolitan area's life and environment. The Cleaning Up series is exploring understandings of and responses to the pervasive toxicity of the urban landscape through case studies, mapping, and historical analyses of the palimpsest of residues from uses that are typically forgotten as the city builds and rebuilds itself. Urban Omnibus has greatly expanded the number of partnerships it's participating in, has collaborated this year with the publications The City and Guernica, as well as with the Goethe Institute in New York, and is currently working on projects with the Wellcome Trust, The Guardian, and Pioneer Works. A very important part of what the League does is to create opportunities for recognition and growth. We've launched some important new projects this year in this area. In partnership with the Urban Design Forum, Urban Omnibus created a new fellowship program, New City Critics, to encourage and support a new generation of diverse, empowered commentators on how our cities are designed and made. The program was established in honor of our beloved friend and board member and critic extraordinaire, Michael Sorkin, who died in the very early months of the pandemic. We've just named our first class of New City Critics Fellows and are looking forward to a great year and a half with them. We also established a partnership with the New York State Council on the Arts to award independent projects grants. This is a program that NYSCA has offered for some years. This year's partnership between the League and NYSCA made possible increased outreach and publicity a strong growth in the number of applications received, and a substantial increase in the number of grants awarded. This work parallels the League's increasing activity as a fiscal sponsor for a wide variety of projects initiated by individuals in design research, mentorship, and community development. And we also run several growing programs for architecture students, both the Fall Student Program, which has become national as we've presented it online, and the mentorship program that we collaborate on with City Tech, City College, and Kane University. Although the League was not able to hold many in-person programs during the 2021-22 season, we were able to come together in March in the bracing environment of chill, our Beaux-Arts Ball, whether in the heat of summer at Marcus Garvey Park or the cold of an unusually blustery March weekend. It was definitely exhilarating to be together at the small number of events that allowed us to do so this year. There's a very good reason that communications about the work of the League look good, and that reason is Michael Beirut and Brett Cobb. As many of you know, Michael Beirut of Pentagram has been designing the League's graphics for many, many years. And in recent years, his associate, Brett Cobb, has worked with us as well. Somehow they are able to capture the tone and spirit of each individual program, from the Beaux-Arts Ball themed Chill, to the President's Medal celebration honoring Walter Hood, to this year's League Prize theme Grounding, to the standalone Firmness, if I would prefer not to. Thank you, Michael and Brett, in absentia, for everything you do for the League. The work of the League is carried out by a talented staff of individuals who has shown this year in particular how much can be accomplished with flexibility, good humor, and commitment. Anne Rieselbach, who here at the Walter Hood event is the League's program director and runs competitions and public programs from current work in FF Distance Edition to Emerging Voices and the League Prize. Rafi Lehman, program manager, works with Anne on all these series and on the student and mentorship program, which is under the program's umbrella too. Alicia Botero, here on your right, is our program and communications associate, working not only with Anne and Rafi, but with Anne Carlisle, our communications manager, who is responsible for all things archleague.org and for getting out the newsletter every week that tells you what we're doing. Sarah Wessler, unfortunately not in a picture, is our digital editor, and Sarah's why the League reads well on the web in addition to looking good. Daniel Chofi on the left here is the League's development and communications manager and runs our new NISCA partnership as well as sponsored projects, and in his spare time is the League's tech guru. And in the middle here is our former program and communications assistant, Nanase Shirakawa. Amari Savage is our newest full-time employee and works with Dan as development and membership associate. Mariana Mogalevich is editor-in-chief of Urban Omnibus and has been the central figure on the League side in creating the New Cities Critics program. Josh Mcwherter, sadly also without a photo, is managing editor of Urban Omnibus. Along with Josh's talents as an editor, in an earlier life, he was a member of he was a musician touring with a band, and the intro music, when you watch a League event online, was composed by Josh. We're also very happy to have in our midst this summer Lena Hoplamazian, who's a High Meadows Environmental Institute intern with the Urban Omnibus. I don't want to forget to urge you to look at the League's annual report online. We worked hard on it, and we really, really, really would like you to take a look at it. Here's the URL for that. The work that the League does, that the staff of the League does, would not be possible without the support of a board that believes very deeply in the organization and its purpose. And the League is very lucky to have a board that does exactly that. Many of you are here tonight. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the League. The board has been led for the past 4 years by Paul Lewis, who's devoted an extraordinary amount of intelligence, heart, and sheer time to the work of the League. Certainly when he agreed to be nominated as president in 2018, nobody could see that there was a pandemic coming that would completely disrupt our lives What I am very grateful for is that he agreed to take on another term in June of 2020 and to stand in solidarity with and help guide the League as we made our way through these last 2 difficult years. As he steps down this year at the end of his term, I thank Paul for his unstinting commitment. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you. Thank you.
We're just going to go back and forth like this all evening long. So I get to do some of the dry business end of the event. So I'm going to begin with the election of the officers and directors. Mary Burnham as Secretary of the League, Rosalie Genevro as Executive Director, and I as President have been appointed proxies for the election of officers and directors to the Board of the Architectural League. And I am happy to report, yes indeed, that we have received enough ballots authorizing us to vote on behalf of members to elect the proposed slate of officers who are also elected as directors of the League as follows. Mario Gooden as President, Kilian Riano as Vice President for Architecture, Chris Graves as Vice President for Visual Arts, Torquaze Dyson also as Vice President for Visual Arts, Mabel O. Wilson as Vice President for History, Theory, and Criticism, and Stella Betts as Secretary. Also elected as directors, class of 2025, Vishan Chakrabarti, Francis Halsband, Andy Clemmer, Ursula Kripa, Joseph Mizzi, Thomas Pfeiffer, Brad Samuels, Ken Smith, Calvin Sau, and Sarah Williams. And this guy, Paul Lewis, as director, class of 2024, and Mary Burnham as director, class of 2023. I want to say a couple of other words about the League. The recent alarming decisions and hearings in Washington have raised fundamental questions about institutional legitimacy, and by extension, the precarious nature of institutions that are nevertheless foundational to a civil democratic society. The validity of any institution is formed by the relevance of its mission, the depth of its history, but also the willingness to intelligently revise that mission, to critically inspect that history while adapting towards a better future. The Architectural League as an institution is not immune to these challenges. Indeed, the last few years have been characterized by rethinking the way we work in the world due to the impact of the distancing of the pandemic, and more importantly, reevaluating the expertise and agency of architecture relative to the interconnected crises of climate, inequity, and racism, in which architecture is intimately entangled. It's been an honor for me to have been the president of the Architectural League for the past 4 years during this period of reflection, adaptation, and action. As Rosalie has mentioned, it's involved many hours of Zoom and fruitful conversations that must and will continue. And I want to thank Mary Burnham and Nat Oppenheimer, who are the chairs of the Finance and Organizational Structure Review, and Karen Stein, Mabel Wilson, Nader Tarani, and Mario Gooden, who are the chairs of the Program Review, for their leadership in these ongoing conversations. To very quickly build upon Rosalie's remarks, the League's most public programs, guided with exceptional care by Program Director Ann Rieselbach, have all been transformed to expand their audience and the models of architecture that are presented and premiated. New League initiatives, including American Roundtable, U.S. Architects Declare, I Prefer Not To, Reimagine, and New City Critics, illuminate crucial sites and means for engagement, while Urban Omnibus, led creatively by Editor-in-Chief Mariano Magolovich, continues to make League legible fundamental and overlooked issues of our cities. It's been a very busy couple of years, but I want to mention that there are 2 moments that stand out for me from the past year, and both involve forms of water. One was the momentary downpour of rain that Rosalie also mentioned, followed by sunlight that initiated the parade down from the Acropolis and Marcus Garvey Park, celebrating Walter Hood as the recipient of the League's President's Medal. A parade curated by Rosalie, Brant Knapp, and Jerome Hayford that offered a new public stage for this celebratory event. The other was witnessing Evie Diamantopoulou and Jaffer Kolb's precarious ice installations that you saw images of, watching this slowly melt next to the heat generated by the dance floor, and we know who was doing the dancing, at the chilly but nevertheless in-person Beaux-Arts ball. Both of these events underscore the value of our collective to test new formats of gathering and the value of design in action. The nimbleness of the League and its institutional viability is possible because, again, and I told you we'd be going back and forth, the extraordinary leadership of our executive director, Rosalie, and the creative and willingness of our staff to continue to invent more effective ways of working. I also want to thank the members of the executive committee who have been a constant source of intelligent support and guidance, really framing the trajectory of the League. But it must be reiterated that the League's impact is inextricable from all of its members. So I offer my sincere thanks and request your continued involvement to nurture change and support our fragile yet crucial institution. Despite the magnitudes of global problems, I remain belligerently optimistic and believe that the League's future as a vital institution is as vibrant and important as ever. And my optimism is substantiated by the enthusiasm surrounding the election of our next president, Mario Gooden. As many of you know, Mario is a cultural practice architect and director of Mario Gooden Studio, Architecture and Design. He's also a professor of practice at Columbia University and a founding board member of the Black Reconstruction Collective. His work, his writings, and his actions both critique and transform the agency of the architect in crucial and inventive ways. So please join me in welcoming Mario as the new president of the Architectural League.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, everyone. I'll try not to repeat too much of what's already been said, but as we all know, these last few years have brought about historic challenges and prompted extraordinary changes in our society and the world, beginning with the global shift towards right-wing politics, culminating in the 2016 elections in the US, to the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, and the fight for Black, brown, and trans lives, to the anti-Asian and Pacific Islander attacks and murders, and the increasing threats of global climate change. The Architectural League did not take a back seat on these issues and simply put out performative statements, but rather, as Paul noted, the League showed its nimbleness and agility to develop new programs, to find new ways of promoting conversation and discourse, and to question the role of the architect and the agency of architecture, as Paul said. So I also wish to thank the leadership and staff of the Architectural League, and to thank Paul especially for his leadership and steadiness over these last few years, as it was not an easy job. And also, most importantly, to thank Paul for his friendship during this tumultuous time. So let's give Paul another round of applause. In the summer of 2020, the Architectural League began a series of discussions to examine itself and not to let its statement following the murder of George Floyd to just be another performative statement, as so many of the statements were that we all read from different institutions. This examination included looking at the League's history, and as we all know, the League began essentially as a club of white men, let's just be honest about it, but also looking at the League's programs, its mechanisms and audience, and how we define excellence, the League's values and its mission, and what the League can do to confront systemic racism, and what does it mean and what does it look like for the League to be an anti-racist organization, as well as, again, what is the agency of the League and what should it be. These conversations and discussions, as has been noted, are ongoing, but at the same time, we must now get to work. We must work to combat inequality and to promote spatial justice. We must work to combat climate change and to promote environmental justice. And we must work to promote the knowledge of design and of the built environment. Yet this work must be a team effort. And that effort means flattening the pyramid and recognizes that the architect is not singular, and that architecture is a discipline of the built environment and not the discipline of the built environment. So it is this work that awaits us, and it's a privilege and an honor for me to step into this position. But again, it is a position that is among a team of designers, thinkers, and doers. And as Toni Morrison wrote in The Nation in 2015, no, 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 this is precisely the time when artists go to work. Not when everything is fine, but in times of dread. That's our job. There's no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. And I would add, we do architecture, we do design, we do art, we do the built environment. That is how civilizations heal. So I look forward to this flattening of the pyramid and to working with all of the members of the board and the members of the league over this next period. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful that you're the new president. So.